Hi everyone. I'm back to share this story because it keeps coming into my mind over and over and over again and it keeps replaying, and so I'm like, okay, this is definitely time for me to share and get this information out of my brain so that I can move on to the next thing, because I'm now convinced that when these things start infesting my brain, it's because I'm not sharing them and I'm starting to feel super selfish. And I'm wanting to share this experience that I had recently when I was doing a sound healing session with Monica Mullen. And she's an incredible sound healer here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. It was an amazing experience for me. Very similar, I would say, to what the work is like that that I do with people in quantum healing hypnosis. The difference from what I've experienced in the sessions that I do with people so far, for me personally, is that this was not a cohesive story that was coming through for me during the sound session. It was more, it was like vignettes. It was these tiny little vignettes of little stories and understandings that were unfolding, or even just memories. And so as I've been like pondering this, I'm like, I wonder why that is. Like, why were these things showing up in these little chunks like that? And the best conclusion that I can come to is that I think that when she was playing certain frequencies and different sounds, it almost seemed like there were these pockets of information stored within me, that carry a certain tone or a certain frequency, and she would play a certain note or a certain sound, and it seemed like it would just like open up this pocket of information, and it was like seemingly very random and not really making much sense in any sort of order. And so that's why I say that I think that there's more to it for me to explore with that, because I do find it very interesting. So, for example, when I first went into this um, session, there were a couple things that happened in the beginning, but I'm going to just start with this place that I often go back to, which is the woods that I spent a lot of time in when I was a child. And I went back to those woods, and um, as an adult, as my current age, and I was holding a salamander in my hand. And this time, as I was looking at the salamander, I was feeling like I felt when I was a little girl, when I would hold one of these amazing little creatures in the palm of my hand, and I was experiencing it from that child perspective, and in this purely innocent way that I have not felt since I was a little girl. And so at one point, I had harmed the salamander, and the salamander lost its tail, and um, I was feeling that guilt and shame and all of those things for hurting this little creature because of my own selfishness and my own carelessness, and feeling feeling the selfishness and the carelessness, but from this purely innocent perspective of a child. And then I was understanding how I've been selfish and careless in many other relationships and in my adult life, and from even in my childhood, and had a beautiful learning around being careless and selfish in different relationships. And so then there was a moment where I saw this man's body, and he was like drifting down into this mucky ocean water, and he was fully clothed, and he was scared and relieved, knowing that he was going to be absolutely free very soon, because he was dying. And I felt all of these feelings, and I knew that that was me, that he was me. And I knew that he had done something, and somebody wanted to kill him. And so he was dying. He wasn't dead yet. And so then I was having an understanding of one of the reasons why I'm terrified of open waters in this current life. I do not want to be, but it is an actual real fear that I have. And then I was reminded of the fact that I have two karmic debt numbers in my astrology and numerology charts. And those karmic debt numbers are both connected to not treating people very nicely in past lives, that I had um, taken advantage of other people for my own benefit and my own power. And my very, very, very good friend, um, he's an astrologer. He read my charts probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And so the past 7 or 8 years, different things have come up in my current life where I've tried to really understand um, what I had done in the past, because I do know that certain things in my life are set up in a way for me to heal these karmic debts that I have. And it makes sense to me, but it doesn't fully make sense to me. And so in this moment of seeing this man sinking down into the ocean, I was really excited for a moment, because I was thinking, oh, I get to see I finally get to see what I've done, like the actual harm that I've caused. And I felt like those two things were connected. And then it flipped into something completely different, which was like I was in this girl's house that I was friends with in elementary school, and her mom used to get these pajamas that were made by a Mennonite woman, and they were these really comfy, like little house on the prairie, like flannel pajamas. And I was in her bed in these pajamas, and I was feeling so cozy and comfy, and reminded of how much I loved these pajamas. And it was super random. And then um, a few other things came up. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at the earth from way above the earth. And the earth is absolutely perfect. There's nothing bad that exists. And everything's beautiful, everything's colorful, and everything is exactly how I think in my current human mind I want the planet to be. And everything that I think I'm working at helping us evolve to. And I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. And just kind of observing it. And then all of a sudden, there was this pocket of how that world actually is, how the planet actually is, how we live now, where there was all this gray matter, and there was duality. And so I was seeing this pocket of how we currently exist, and this beautiful, perfect place. And um, um, I went down into the place of duality, into where we exist now. I went into there because from a distance I was able to see that these these so-called evil people, whatever, on the planet, that these people in power and in control, and all the big people, big pharma, big ag, big banking, big everything, that I believe is responsible for this so-called negativity or darkness on the planet. I was able to go into that energy and feel the deprivation that exists in order for that to exist, and the that the deprivation of the people who are causing this so-called harm. And I only felt that deprivation, actual deprivation, like absolutely nothing, no love, nothing beautiful existed within these people at all. And it terrified me. It like scared the shit out of me. And to like, I could only feel it for a couple seconds. And then I heard this voice say, "This is why you keep coming back here." And I was like, oh, yeah, I get that. Because if the world were how I think I want it to be, this amazing, perfect, beautiful place, I would never keep coming back here. I would be way too bored. That would be so boring. And it said, don't call it boring. It just is what it is. And I was like, well, yeah, but it seems boring. Like it's much more, there's much more to do in this other place. And so there was like this little bit of discussion and argument back and forth, and about the word boring specifically, and me just accepting that it is just what it is. And so then it was showing me that I'm able to view this from afar, and I'm able to experience that deprivation just for a tiny little millisecond, really, because it's not actually me who's causing the harm. And so then it was basically showing me that I'm not able to see what the man had done that was sinking into the ocean, because if I were to actually feel that level of deprivation within myself and know that that is something that I had lived with up until that point of, somebody taking me out or whatever, I wouldn't be able to do the work that I'm doing today. And because I wouldn't be able to actually process that I was a person that was that deprived of love. And so I was like, wow, that's really incredible. I totally understand why I'm not able to see what harm I have caused now. Like it makes perfect sense to me. And then this voice said that, you silly little girl, you think that that time is not linear, but you believe that reincarnation is linear. And I was like, I don't quite understand what that means. And it said, you think that you are not able to handle this because this is something that you might not be able to accept, that you have been in the past, and this could be you in the future. And we're just helping you to understand that this could be you in the future. And so maybe we are preparing you to be one of these people that is so deprived of everything beautiful and of love, because you need to remember, and we're showing you that these people could be way more evolved than you are in this current moment. And you kind of just pride yourself on all of this good that you're doing, and all of these people that you're helping, and all these amazing sessions that you do, and all this beauty that you see in the world, and all of this good stuff that you think you're doing. And then it said, or they said, you think that we're here to help people. We want people to not harm them. And so do you think we're actually going to put people in that position who are not so full of light and love that there's no possible way that they will ever forget? Do you think we're going to put people who are newbies in that position? the people that have to come in and do these so-called horrible things so that other people can evolve. And I was like, holy shit, that's an incredible concept that I could have never possibly imagined. Because my belief is that the more times we come back here, the more and more we evolve. And to me, to evolve means to become more and more and more filled with love and light and all of this stuff. And it was like, yeah. And so that is necessary. The duality is so necessary for people to evolve. And those could be the most highly evolved people ever. That the more evolved, the more harm you have to cause. And I'm like, what? Okay. I am so thankful. So in my life's work in the gene keys, I the shadow is, it's gene key number 62, and the shadow is intellect. And it took me a long time. I feel like I came into the world and was lucky enough to experience the intelligence of nature in a huge way as a child, as a small girl. And I'm so thankful for that. And I see why it shows up. And that through, I think that because I had this different understanding of the intelligence of nature compared to most of my friends growing up, or all of them, possibly, I don't know. Um, I think that I was very misunderstood as being a know-it-all for a long time. And I think that my curiosity um, definitely caused me um, a lot of, I have this tremendous curiosity about life, and I always have. And um, now I love so much when the universe or God or whatever you want to call this amazing thing that steps in. That's like, okay, Keisha, let's just remind you once again how you don't know anything about anything. Like, one more reminder real quick, because not even one more. Like, there's going to be a gazillion more. I don't know why I even just said one more. But I get so freaking excited when I am reminded of how much I don't know anything about anything. And so this is another one of those opportunities for me to share. Um, yeah, pretty much exactly what I just said, how much I don't know about anything. So if you're actually listening to this, thank you for listening to me share. Um, share about how I'm constantly reminded of how much I know nothing about anything, about, you know, nothing. Um, and I'm open to it. I love it. So yeah, I I'm hoping that now that I got this out here and shared it, something else will come in for me to share, and um, maybe somebody will find this information useful. Until then, ciao.